aircraft carriers, the U.S. Navy is unmatched. The U.S. Navy's 10 Nimitz-class aircraft carriers are the envy of the world, and yet the Navy has a newer, more powerful, and more advanced carrier in the works. A new $17 billion USS Gerald Ford supercarrier would make that even more so despite the efforts of other nations to keep up. The USS Gerald Ford is the lead of America's first class of aircraft carriers in over 4 decades, and its deployment is something more than the usual $17 billion. USS Gerald Ford meet the new American flagship. It is an introduction of the world to the next generation of aircraft carriers. The next generation of aircraft carriers would be the ultimate symbol of the military might of the militaries that wield them. A mobile version of all lethality a country has to offer, and packed with all the advanced tech of the last decades. These massive floating air bases could win battles by intimidation alone. Other nations, like the US, also develop new lethal next-generation aircraft carriers. And now we look at every single one of them in detail. USS Gerald Ford was already the most advanced carrier in the world before it was completed, and deservedly so. To build it, the US Navy had to stop work on over 9,000 other projects. The supercarrier had a record-setting 100,000 tons displacement and featured a staggering 23 new technologies, 3 of which are industry marvels. Number 1. Nuclear power propulsion. 2 Bechtel A1B nuclear reactors, the most cutting-edge engines created for use on water, power the USS Gerald Ford. As a result, the carrier can run for 25 years at a time without refueling, and with a max speed of around 30 knots, the supercarrier could access every country in the world just in time to pay friendly visits to allies and wreak havoc on adversaries. Number 2. American fighter jets and UAVs. Up to 75 fighter jets and UAVs can call the USS Ford home at any given time. This includes the Navy's favorite child, the 5th-generation F-35C Lightning II, whose development program remains the most expensive weapons development program of the Pentagon to date, with a reported cost of $400 billion. The result of such an expensive program is a fighter that can do it all: close air support, vertical takeoff and landing, and everything in between. And when the Navy's 6th-generation fighter comes to life, the USS Ford is already equipped with the technologies required to host the launch and arrest it. Number 3. Advanced Launch and Arrest Systems. On the USS Ford is a revolutionary first-of-its-kind electromagnetic launch system to catapult every aircraft type into the sky in the shortest possible distance, and an arresting gear that saves them from becoming sea divers by grinding them to a sharp halt. These systems are designed for 4,100 takeoffs and 16,500 arrests before faults occur. The new Ford-class carriers will feature an improved nuclear reactor with 3 times the power generation capacity as the Nimitz. This outsized power generation capacity provides the Fords an opportunity to grow into new technologies that come up during their service life. Improved technology means that the island or the tower on the deck of the carrier can be moved further aft, towards the tail. This smaller, more out-of-the-way island means that there will be more room and accessibility for the aircraft on the deck, which will improve maintenance times and turnarounds. Navy planners estimate that the new design will help carriers generate an additional 33% more sorties. When aircraft land, they'll be able to come back, refuel, rearm, in kind of a pit stop model, really modeled after NASCAR. The Navy's dual-band radar operates simultaneously on 2 frequencies, enabling the radar to effectively classify low-altitude planes and missiles. The radar works both to track incoming aircraft and missiles, and to support outgoing weapons and planes. Only the first Ford-class carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, will carry the dual-band radar. Navy planners are currently evaluating candidates to provide an enterprise air surveillance radar, which they estimate could save $120 million. Individually, the changes made between the Ford and Nimitz classes seem isolated and inconsequential, but when taken together, the Ford line of aircraft carriers shows the direction forward as envisioned by the U.S.'s naval planners. The development of the Ford-class carriers has been fraught with cost and time overruns, but this is to be expected with a first-in-class vessel. The great success of the Ford class will not be defined by any one innovation on board, but by the foresight displayed by the designers who are boldly creating a carrier to launch planes that haven't even been designed yet, to fire weapons not yet built, and to secure the U.S.'s interests at sea for decades to come. The U.S. Navy's most expensive warship just got even pricier as the service says it needs to spend an additional $120 million on the new U.S. Gerald Ford aircraft carrier to correct deficiencies identified during testing, an amount that will cause the ship's overall cost to exceed a $17 billion cap set by Congress. According to a spokesperson for Naval Systems Command, more money is needed to fix propulsion components that were damaged during training and to address issues with the carrier's advanced weapons elevators. Using magnets rather than ropes or cables, Ford special elevators are used to transport bombs up to the flight deck so they can be loaded onto aircraft. Designed to carry significantly more weight than previous elevators, they are intended to streamline the process of loading and reloading aircraft, getting them on and off the ship at a faster rate. The Navy intends to use the authority granted by Congress in the 2007 National Defense Authorization Act to increase the cost cap in order to correct deficiencies identified during testing, as well as those changes required to ensure the safety of the ship and personnel, the Navy said. While the Navy has the authority to adjust certain costs if required to complete post-delivery tests and trials, the service must inform lawmakers when a spending cap breach occurs and outline how it will shift funds to cover the difference. The first of 3 similar carriers ordered by the Navy, which will be known as Ford-class carriers, and whose combined cost is expected to be close to $42 billion. The Ford's innovative features have been touted as one of its biggest assets, but testing those unproven systems has, at times, yielded growing pains. Early testing of the carrier's plane-launching electromagnetic catapult failed in 2015, which was just one of several setbacks for a program that has been criticized by some lawmakers for a series of schedule delays and cost overruns. Subscribe to this channel, hit the like button of this video, and let's see what we can do. Thanks for watching.